8, 13, 21.
We're ready.
I was counting in Fibonacci numbers there.
Nice, I like
but
it.
I reckon we're live now.
Hi, we're Naked Security back on Facebook Live. I'm Anna, this is Duck.
Hello folks, I'm back from a nice trip to the Netherlands.
It's been a long time, I think a couple of months since you've been on Facebook Live for Naked
Yeah,
Security.
we had a week when we missed, and then a week I was away, and then a week someone else did it, and then a week I was away again. But here I am. I did not get lost. I managed to find my way all the way back.
As always, ask your questions and leave comments for us in the comments box, and we'll either answer them on air or we'll answer them later. So, Doug, yesterday...
Yes, we can look at each other now.
Yesterday was Social Media Day, so we thought we'd give 5 tips for staying safe on social media.
Yes, and tip number 0 is not, hey, when it's Social Media Day, go completely crazy.
Is it not?
I don't think that was the idea. It was just an idea that
That's where I
social
slipped
media
up
can be cool.
Pardon?
Hey.
Hello, Teresa.
Hi there, Harrison. I hope you are having summer in Ontario at last, and that your winter is finally over, because it's really summery here.
Yeah.
It's like almost like being in the Med. I've never been to the Mediterranean, not today, but over the weekend.
Hi, Karen. Hello, Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Okay, start with...
So we're being very Social Media Day, aren't we? Chatting to all our buddies on
Aren't we?
social media
Yeah.
and going live on Facebook.
Okay, hit me with tip number 1.
Tip number 1, I know we've said this before, I'm sure we'll say it any number of times again, but let's start at the beginning because this matters very much for social media, but for the rest of your digital lifestyle, please folks, pick a proper password. It really matters on social media because if the crooks get into your account, not only can they mess with what you look like to your buddies and learn things about you, they can use your account to try and sell things or recommend stuff to your buddies, and then it's not just spam that, oh well, I'll delete that, it's you're telling them something, so they're more inclined to believe it, and if they then go and buy some weird cryptocurrency no one else has ever heard of and it all goes pear-shaped, they're going to blame you, not the crook who got your password and logged in and sent a personalised message.
So how, we say pick a proper password, but how do you pick a proper password?
Well, we've for years we've been not outright stating, but urging people, if you can't remember long and complex passwords, and who can remember hundreds of the jolly things, use a password manager. That's one of those tools. You get them for laptops, you get them for mobile phones, and for both. That's one of those tools that you press a button and it generates a super long, super complicated password for every account you've got. And the nice thing is, because it's random, you end up with a different password for every account, so if the crooks get one, they don't get into the rest of your digital life.
And it also makes it harder to be phished on social media, is that right?
Yes, I don't think this was originally what password managers were for. They were there to help you choose things that aren't your cat's name. But generally, the way it works is the password manager needs to know which website to put what password into, or which account to put what password into. So if you go to a phishing site that isn't your bank's URL, that says now put in your banking password, whether it's encrypted or not, your password manager, it kind of can't give you away because it's never heard of the account before, so it doesn't know what password to put in, so it just shrugs. And that means you can stop and think, wow, how come it won't put my banking password in? Probably means it's not my banking website. So it's actually a great way of picking the good, strong passwords, ensuring you have a completely different password for every site, rather than using your cat's name with like different digits at the end. And as you say, there's that added benefit that the password manager doesn't know to put the right password into the wrong site, so it won't do it. Good anti-phishing.
Did you say any recommendations about which password managers?
I didn't. The ones that we typically recommend on Naked Security are the big 3 that I know of would be things like LastPass, 1Password, KeePass. There are many others. Which one suits you, that depends on a lot of different factors. Obviously, do you find it usable? Does it work well between, say, your laptop and your phone? Maybe you want to choose 2 different ones. Yeah. Do you want to store your passwords in the cloud where encrypted, or do you want to keep them to yourself? Different strokes for different folks. The best thing is don't go onto like Google Play or the App Store and search and then read the recommendations, because they've probably come from the person who wrote the app. Ask your friends which ones they trust. Do your own research. Read up. find out what their track record is. There have been cases of password managers having security problems, not quite data breaches, but where they've got bugs in the software.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing, but you can judge a lot from a product that when it has a problem, how did they react, how quickly did they fix it, how honest were they with their customers. And so that's also, so even if a product has not been 100% perfect in the past, that could actually be a good sign, because you think, you know what, these guys do care, and if something goes wrong, they're actually going to jump to my defense.
Yep.
So you need to do a little bit of reading and then maybe try one or two and pick the one that you find most usable.
And you can get they usually have an associated app, don't they? So I use LastPass, and if I want to put in my Facebook password, it will just populate it for me with my facial recognition or my touch fingerprint. That thing.
Yes, which kind of, if I may, jumps us forward to our second tip about use two-factor authentication whenever you can.
Yeah.
So you're saying you've got the password manager.
Yeah.
The password manager's picked a proper password, but it won't just put it in any time you go near Facebook.
Yeah.
It will make you stop, think, connect. It'll make you look at your phone or press on your finger if you've got an older iPhone, or maybe put in a PIN that authorizes the password manager, yes, I do want to go and log in.
Yeah.
So you don't have to type in a 24-character password on your phone with 17 funny characters, but what it means is you can also set things up so that it does require that if you like, that second proof that A, you're there, you've got the phone, and it really is he's not just some chum who's picked it up or a crook who's run off with your phone while it was unlocked. And it also means that you've got that slight little delay that means that you're kind of thinking about, do I want to like this? Do I want to send this to my buddy? Do I want to stay logged in? Do I really want to do this? And sometimes thinking about something, even if it's for 1 second, can make a huge difference, because once you send something out, it's very hard to get it back. Even if you later go and delete a post, for example, somebody could have seen it in the interim.
And most services offer two-factor authentication now, is that right?
They do, and by the way, that's not just for social media, that's for everything in your digital lifestyle. So, your Gmail, your Outlook.com, your banking website. If you've got a blog and you've got a WordPress site someone's hosting for you, that should offer you two-factor authentication. It just stops other people, it just makes it harder for crooks to get into your account and do mischief, whether that's publishing malware and making you look bad, whether it's telling fibs to your buddies so that it looks like you're recommending something that you never would, or whether they're out to get data about you that would let them commit identity theft, for example.
Okay, and then tip number 3?
Tip number 3, looking down at my notes, because this is the catchy one. I almost said it was a cliche, but obviously can't be a cliche. I have to remind myself what it is. If in doubt, don't give it out. A good general rule for everything you do online, but particularly important on social media. Part of the goal of being on social media, part of the fun, I've got to admit it, is that it makes it easy to share things. So I remember recently I was in London, I took a ferry across the river. It was super cool. I'd never been on it before, the Woolwich ferry, with my bicycle. The wind was howling. I took a video, I posted it, loved the idea.
I liked it, I remember.
But I made the decision, I want to tell people I'm in London, because it was pretty obvious. I was down to speak at this conference, which is right near Woolwich. I don't mind people knowing that I'm coming from the southern side of the river. So I made that decision on that occasion. What I didn't do is what I don't do is every time I take a photo, I'll just tell everybody. If I wanted to live my life like that, I don't blame you if you want to do that, but make sure that when you're giving information away on social media that you really intended to do so. Because if you think about it, you go, hey, I'm not going to tell anyone what my birthday is, but then I'm going to post pics from my birthday party on XYZ date, and then, or a video where someone's saying, hey, it's your birthday today, even though it's a weekend, or, we're having the celebration on Saturday. Now I know that your wedding anniversary was on Wednesday, and suddenly you've given away information that you can then never get back. And exactly the same things about pictures from your house. If it's got the house number in it, then obviously you've just given away exactly what your address is, your car registration number, all those things that you might later regret. So I'm not saying it's wrong to give that stuff away, but make sure you meant to if you did.
I'm thinking about what's in the background as well.
Yes, I've got one of me. You have no idea where I am, and then behind me is Manchester City Football Club. It's Etihad Stadium in the background, and you just see all the blue seats and the word Etihad Stadium, and you kind of think, well, I hope he's not trying to disguise the fact that he's in Manchester at the moment.
You should be at work.
Was giving a speech. So that was intentional because I was supposed to be there and everyone knew I was there, no big deal. But or if you go, there are holiday locations you go to, you think no one will recognise this beach. But imagine you go somewhere like Cape Town, you take a picture on the beach, in the background there's this big mountain that's absolutely flat on top. There aren't many places in the world that are like that. You just gave away maybe more than you intended. So think before you share. 2 seconds delay, or 2% pain, if you like, 98% gain. That's the way I like to look at it.
Okay, and tip number, what are we on for?
We're on tip number 4. Tip number 4, this is your tip, and it's a very, very good one, and that is, because I know you go, oh golly, I didn't look at this. This is exciting. Maybe we should even write this up for Naked Security. Check your settings. Yeah. And I wish there were a way that we could give you, well, here are the 3 main things, the 3 options you need to tick and the 3 options you need to unselect for all the social media. Sorry to say, it's not quite like that. You go Facebook, they've got their own security settings. Twitter have got their own. Instagram, Snapchat, your email client will be different. Your browser will be different about what can access the occasion. Can these guys track you? Can these guys send you notifications? Sadly, what you need to do, well, maybe not sadly, but set aside some time, maybe one evening, sit down with your laptop, maybe not with your phone, because it's a little easier to work because you've got a bigger screen, log into something like Facebook, and go around, look around all those security settings, because I get mystified. There are pages and pages and pages of them. And by the way, even if you think you've got it nailed, then go back in regularly, because there are always changes. That's why you often say, hey, there's this new setting in Facebook, maybe you should tell Naked Security readers about it. That means it wasn't there before. And even if it's not on by default, it's important to realize it, and while you're about it, you may realize, hey, I didn't know you could stop other people tagging you in photos. I actually want to turn that feature off. So actually by revisiting, you learn about changes, some of which may happen for regulatory reasons, so they have to occur, and you also make sure that you haven't got settings that are left over from last year, last decade, that you suddenly wish you didn't have turned on. And unfortunately, there isn't a simple answer. You've got to dig in for each social media platform does it slightly differently. Each have got a different bunch of settings and so forth. And by the way, my experience has been that it is much easier to do this if you have a laptop by logging in via a web browser than to try and do it on your phone, where the menus are all different and you're not seeing so many options on a page, and you can end up on a phone, you just get lost in the details. Whereas on a browser, generally you can see more at once. So I find that quite useful to find out the things that I'm missing on my mobile phone. You may actually find there are things you can't set on your phone because they've kept the app a bit simpler.
I think that is the case on Facebook, or at least it used to be,
So I wish there were a simple answer, but make a regular investment. It only has to be once every couple of months, where you go in on all the social media platforms you use regularly, go into the security page, go through all of the options, see what's new, see what's different, and see whether there are any things that you might, hey, I didn't know you could do that, I want to turn that on. There's no reason not to do that. But don't have things enabled that you never realised, because that then you may be sharing stuff without even realising.
Final tip?
A question?
Yeah, we've got some questions,
So a couple of people, Don and Karen have asked, in some circumstances they might want someone else to access their accounts. So should they give them their overall password manager password?
So we have to repeat that?
Yeah.
So should I read it out?
Yeah, you read.
So also it's Canada Day. Happy Canada Day too.
Happy Canada Day.
Oh, Canada.
We're in an atrium.
Our home and native land. A lot of echo there, but there you go.
Maybe that wasn't picked up on the microphone.
I won't go. Maybe not.
So Karen has said, I'm afraid to give control to a password manager. If I pass away, my family will be unable to manage my bills. But it doesn't matter whether it's a password manager or any logins, does it? Yeah,
this whole issue of my understanding is that the law is still trying to work out what happens after you die. Are your passwords, and is the stuff in your social media accounts, Is that part of your estate? If so, how? Which countries choose what things? So that can be quite difficult.
Yep.
What you can do is that if you have a password manager with a master password, you could always write it down on a piece of paper, lock it in your safe deposit box if you have one, for example, or somewhere where you've got to trust somebody with your will.
Yeah.
And you assumedly the people you give to your will are people that you think aren't going to rip it up and try and present a fake one. So find somebody you trust. You don't have to give them access to your account all the time, but you can provide a vehicle wherein you're after your death.
Although that won't work with if you use biometrics as your second factor.
Usually there'll be some way that you can decrypt the file. So then, generally speaking, for example, if you think about an iPhone in general, after a certain time, if you've got the old type with fingerprints or the new type where you look at it, after a particular time of you not logging in, your fingerprint or your face doesn't work anywhere. Is it 48 hours? I think that cancels that.
Oh,
so
I'm not sure.
there are, in the same way that when you go around town, at least in the UK, with a NFC, with a PayWave credit card, after a certain number of transactions in a row, it declines that and it makes you put in your thing and put in your PIN again, just so that if someone nicks your card, they can't go crazy. So there's usually a way of getting around password where you can have a recovery key, for example. It's exactly the same with your laptop. I've got a Mac, as have you. You've got File Vault. You can print out a recovery key. It's a long string of characters. Lock that away somewhere, or make a provision in your will whereby this person will get access to that key. Then they can kind of do what they like. So it's a little bit like giving someone a power of attorney in case you get injured and you can't act for yourself legally anymore. So of course, you do need to think about it before you die. And that's the sad truth of it.
Teresa says, thank you. Nice voice.
Oh, she's talking to you, I
Subjective.
suppose. Oh, no. It's probably because she's a Canuck, right? So it's probably because I sang the national
I know,
anthem
but I presume there's something wrong with the microphones because I wasn't. Just joking. So Teresa says, what was tip number 2? And that was
2FA. So you pick a proper password, but even if you have a super complicated password, have 2FA as well, because it does make it harder for the crooks. There are various ways that they could recover your password. By fair means or foul, they could shoulder surf it, or they could get one password. Whatever you do, don't make it so that a username and a password alone lets them into your account so they can drain your bank account for the next 3 weeks. Have something that's a one-time code that they also need every time. It doesn't solve everything, but it makes it much more difficult.
Okay, and final tip?
The final tip is, this is quite a specific one, but it actually has general implications for your online life, whether you're, mainly for mobile phones, but also for laptops, and that is, if you can, learn to live without location turned on, or at least learn how you can have location off and nevertheless go about your daily business. Sometimes if I go out riding my bicycle and I get lost, I turn on location on purpose because I want to find out where I am. And I think a lot of people think that's really handy. They're using a mapping app, or they want to find a parking space. So they want their device to have location on because they want the device to be able to tell them where they are. But of course, you may have loads of apps whose stated goal, perhaps, is that if you have location on, that they'll tell everybody where you are as well. That was interesting, but there you go.
Doc's been away. It's tired.
Well, even native speakers of a language are allowed to make grammatic error once in a wheel. So the point is that if you have with Android and with iOS these days, and particularly iOS has had it for longer, but both those platforms now, they let you decide if you've got location on your phone, which apps can use it. But sometimes it's really easy to go on a Mac, you go location services off, that's it, game over for location. Apps no longer can get access to GPS or Wi-Fi location or anything, and if they can't get the data, they can't accidentally give it out. So you're not really protecting yourself from malicious behavior, you're just protecting yourself from everybody knowing where you are all the jolly time. Now, it may be that you like that. It may be you like your buddies to know where you are. It may be that you're going on a vacation and with a whole load of people and you want to find each other, in which case it may be a choice you make. But I think a lot of people, they turn on location primarily because they're lost in a city they've never been to before, and they find it so handy that they then leave it on forever, and they forget that what that means is that any app they've installed that has location access has location access, and it's then up to that app and the terms and conditions, which of course you read in detail before you installed it. They can do what they want with that location. And that could be very useful, but make sure you've made an informed choice. And the easiest way to practice whether you really need that location setting is turn it off on your phone for a while and see whether your digital life falls apart. The first time I did it, I thought, I won't know where I am. Well, when I really want to know where I am, I can look it up. If I don't really
And
mind.
you can also turn it off for individual apps as
You
well.
can, yes. But you do need to review that. When you install a new app, you need to go in and make sure that the settings are correct for that app. And we've also seen changes. For example, Apple made a change on iOS recently where they require every app now has to have a location option where you can give it access to your location, but only when you're using the app.
Yeah.
And apps didn't have that before, so you have to go in and turn it on if that's what you want. I hope you're laughing at a joke and not at me.
I'm just laughing at a compliment.
From the first day.
Someone's being nice on Facebook comments.
Cool.
Anyway, so that's it.
I
Thank you,
thought
Doug.
I had egg on my face, literally and or figuratively, all
No,
of
I
the
was
show.
just amused. Last time I got trolled, so this time someone said something nice. Thanks.
Great, thanks for that, guys.
So thank you, Doug, and thanks
It's a
everyone
great
for
pleasure.
watching. Keep asking your questions and commenting, and we'll reply. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.